Okay, I want to do a series on probably one of the men that influenced me, his patterns, his ways, his style, that influenced my carving more than anyone. Now, as I said, Harley Russell, as far as flat plane, has influenced my carvings. But I believe this man's carvings were the first that I saw when I was wanting to learn how to carve. I was in Branson, Missouri, and I was in Pete Engler's shop. That was it's in the Grand Village now, but that was back when it was over at the Engler block, as they called it. And I was looking at the carvings and deciding a lot of things, how to do things, and I came upon this man's work. And the man's name is Mike Shipley. And when I saw it, I said, man, that is the way I want to learn how to carve. Now, the reason I've done a little bit different on my flat plane is because I never wanted to just completely copy someone. That wasn't the case. But, I mean, as far as simplicity and just a good-looking carving, I think Mike Shipley has had more effect on me learning to carve and wanting to carve than anyone. And his figures, if you've never seen any of his figures in person, you can see them in Branson, Missouri, or you can go to his website. But his figures are just wonderful. And he writes quite a few books, and I have, I think, probably every one of his books. Here's just a few that he does. Whittling the Old Sea Captain, and we're going to do this piece, one of the sea captains. I just love this book, Wood Carving Country Folk. This is hillbillies and stuff like that he has put out. That is just, in fact, we did one of his rough outs that similar to what this was right here. And of course, here's one hand carving snowmen and Santas. And the wonderful thing is, Mike calls his work Ozark flat plane, and I've talked to him several times, and I remember before I ever met the man, before I ever started carving, I saw one of his pieces, and I said, that's the way I want to learn to carve. It's the wonderful thing is that Mike takes simplicity of carving, and for any beginner, I would say that if you don't have any of Mike Shipley's books, you need to get them, because every beginner's library should have his stuff in it. Because I'm going to tell you something, his way of carving is probably one of the simplest ways for beginners to learn, and I learned from it. And but when I saw his, he had some bears up there, and he had some Santas and stuff, and I just loved his bears, and so I'd say that Mike has probably been one huge influence. Now, he has a place called Ozark Country Characters on the internet, and you can go there and look at his stuff, and he has rough outs, and we've carved one of his rough outs. I've used them, folks. Now, I have to admit, sometimes I've gotten rough outs where the wood is too hard or something like that, but I have never gotten a bad rough out from Mike. He uses very, very good wood, basswood and stuff. And the thing about Mike's figures that I think more than ever, his designs and his patterns, is the fact that they're a simple way of doing something. He tries to simplify it, but it comes out to be a fantastic looking character. It just does. Now, like I said, I carve more in the flat plane style of Harley Russell, but there's sort of a fine line between, but when you look at Mike's stuff, it's just wonderful. It is. It's just the way he cuts, the way he does it, and he holds classes. And like I said, if you're a beginner or even an intermediate carver and you don't have any of Mike's books, get them. He has them on his website. You can get them from Wood Carving Illustrated, but Mike Shipley has been probably one of the largest factors of me starting to carve than anyone. And of course, like I said, I wanted to design my own style, but his style is just, man, I love it, because it's the way I like to carve. It's simple with cuts, but when you're through with it, it's just great. And he's got several other books. He's got and one of his most lovable books is Carving Country Bears, and his bears are just they are just ideal for the intermediate and beginner. They come up with a great style, and that's what we're going to do today. We're gonna start doing a series of projects that Mike has done, and I called in and got permission for this. And besides him taking over Ron Wells's knives, which I think is the best carving knife around. I'm sorry, I'm prejudiced, folks, and Mike is making his own design with the same handles, and I'm excited to try some of the reason I still have an old Ron Wells knife, and if Ron gave the knife section over to Mike, then I know that this man, trusting him with his knives, it was a wise move. But he has so many books, and if you don't have a Mike Shipley book, then get one. Get several of them. I would have one of each, because I'm going to tell you something. His characters are just wonderful to do, and if you've ever seen any in person, you know how great they look. But what I'm going to do today, and the first project we're going to start with, is this bear project. And I took it from his book, Carving Country Bears. And if you don't have a copy of Mike's book, get it, because I'm going to tell you something. This little pattern that he uses here is, to me, a great little pattern for all things. Now, he carves his so wonderful, but I may vary a little bit from it, but then that's just because I do a different form of flat plane. Now, I cut the piece out just like that, and as you can see, Mike uses a very simple pattern. His patterns are not complex, they're not difficult. He uses a very simple pattern when he starts out with it, and so that's what I like so much about his work, is just that. So this is the project we're going to do, is carving this little simple bear, and I cut him out. And if you don't have Mike's book on carving country bears, please get one. I'll tell you, because doing these figures, he has the bears in different ways, and he has Santa bears, he has overalls, things like that. And it's just a joy to do that. So this is going to be, we're going to start doing a series of projects on Mike Shipley's work, on his patterns, and if you go to his website, he's got the of course, Mike took over the Ron Wells knife, which I just dearly love and always use, and he's kind of modified it a little bit, and the way it looks even better. And this is the knife that I love to carve with. So, in a matter of speaking, we're gonna start this series and honor Mike by it. But if you want to get on his website, it's Ozark Country Characters. And this is not just a plug for Mike Shipley. Okay, this is a man who created simple patterns with a simple style of carving, but turns out to be a great project. I want to tell you something. So, and I think that's vital for beginners and intermediate alike, just to be able to sit down and do these great projects of his. So, okay, well, this is the project we're going to start off with. We're going to do.